inequality kills report. Okay, who gave this report? Yes, Oxfam. What is the main thing that this report is actually talking of? Inequality is okay, but why inequality kills report as such? Especially its report is talking of the impact of COVID-19 itself. It talks of how COVID-19 is exaggerating the inequality in our country, in the world, not only in the country. Okay. Right now, that is one of the challenge also, in the sense that it said that it is inequality because of which certain the variations that are taking place with COVID-19 are happening. Okay, what kind of this inequality? There is a structural and systemic inequalities with the government policies itself. Okay, not only within the country but also across the world. Or else, what is this monopolistic vaccination production that is taking place? Only few companies are producing these vaccines and they are benefiting out of them. Right? That is something kind of monopoly. Like only few companies are generating this coronavirus vaccine, and then what these things say? It shows that only the rich or only the people who are having access to power positions, okay, only the people who are actually enjoying higher status in the society based on caste or any religion or any other, or race also. They are the people who are much benefited ahead of the poor sections, other vulnerable sections. It showed that the people who are having wealth are the ones who are able to cope up with this COVID. So again, the idea of universal health coverage has come up in this report. What is universal health coverage? What do you mean by universal health coverage? This idea has been shown even in National Health Policy 2017. Like there is something called the idea of universal basic income. Like universal health coverage are in a sense that every section of the population will be having some access to the health care, okay, which is at a lower cost, where high, and then even access to doctors, and then these. What is the condition of our public healthcare centers as such? There is one doctor for 10,000 population in our country. And what is the case for other countries like advanced countries, or even the peer countries like Pakistan or even Sri Lanka or Nepal or Bhutan or even China? They are better. In China, I think for one person, for 1,000 population, there is one doctor available there. Where are we now? It is approximate figure is one doctor for 10,000. And forget about this, taking apart from these doctors, access to other things like healthcare facilities, hospital beds or any kind of surgical equipments are not quite available at the district headquarters level of hospitals also. And then more and more privatization takes place, which will definitely make sure that the cost of healthcare is going to rise. So there is also one more aspect also why the cost of healthcare is going to increase. Next topic is what we are going to discuss: antimicrobial resistance. When these things are happening, definitely the cost of healthcare is going to rise. And what is the insurance penetration in our country with regard to healthcare? Very poor. Nobody has any kind of knowledge about what is this health insurance. Why do we require health insurance? Why do we for something which is not unprecedented, which is not known to us, why we need to pay every year some 5,000 or 2,000 rupees? But this insurance, the knowledge of this insurance coverage is also very poor. And then that is why we had this Jan Dhan Yojana schemes. Okay. But however, it doesn't cover health insurance as such. It covers accidental insurance and life insurance. But health insurance is completely different concept, which is also not covered. Okay, that is with regard to idea of universal healthcare means not only just access to hospitals or doctors or any kind of medicines or something, but also the coverage of people in the insurance sector also, the financial backing also. Insurance penetration, health insurance penetration is very poor in our country. Okay, so what Oxfam tells is that there are almost certain indicators that it shows like how the inequality is like increasing in our country, in the world, especially with regard to the COVID-19 also. First thing it talked of is unequal access of COVID vaccination itself between the countries. And country like India is now being a bigger, larger country in South Asia, it is trying to, what is it? Trying to export medicines as a neighborhood first policy that we are following. We have exported medicines for Nepal, Sri Lanka, and even for Pakistan. But why that such kind of things are required? Why such kind of divide is there? India is able to manufacture, and why not other countries are able to access these medicines? This is a one-time situation that happens across the world. Why is it should be made like a monopolistic kind of thing and made profits out of it? That is what the report is especially critical of. Why did World Trade Organization did not come into action and make sure that this vaccine monopoly production that is taking place is as ended and then everybody has benefited from this vaccination? Because this is not taken place. That is why we are seeing the variations in vaccine coronavirus that is taking place, and then we are getting affected by different kinds of these variations. If it is there, some kind of cushion would have been there. The third wave would not have been occurred in South Africa, country like South Africa. Right? Vaccination is there, some kind of protection would have been there. Why deaths are again occurring there in such countries? Because of this unequal access to the vaccine. Okay, and then I told you another angle where only the rich or the people who are well off or better positioned in the society or having access to power are able to access these COVID care as such at a early level, at a better way compared to other sections of the society. Right, this is another angle that the report is talking of. And then this inequality is trying to, what is it called as? It is called as systemic inequality or institutionalized violence. What is this institutionalized violence? It is the regarded inequality as a violence. Because inequality is persisting not just because of that is happening, but because of the failure of the government. Failure of the government structures and government systems to take proper action. One of the important thing is that the government has, given you stimulus measures, like more and more money has been distributed to the poor sections of the people. But who ultimately have benefited from this? Majorly the big corporates and the rich only. They are feeding money, they have fed money they give money into the hands of the people, that is well and good. But where do they spend this money again? To receive products like Maggie, okay, everyone is sitting in homes and they are trying to consume these kind of products only, which have again benefited the big companies and corporations and the rich only. That is what it is called as this institutionalized violence or systemic inequality that is being built because of the COVID-19. So, and what way this inequality is impacting? In a way that it is only impacting in a disproportionate way, only the weaker sections are more impacted as such. Again, inequality is again getting impacted by the weaker sections only. Take the case of women, especially in times of COVID-19. How many women would have lost jobs? And now it is said that almost some percentage of women, like 13 million women are not trying to come back to the work across the world, 13 million. And it is estimated that a number of girls are unable to access education. So disproportionately it is affecting weaker sections only, this inequality or the inequality, exaggerated by the COVID-19 scenario. Okay, almost 20 million girls. Okay, 20 million number approximately. And then these inequalities, yes, poverty is there, inequality is there. One more angle of inequality is hunger. Health we talked of, poverty we are taking, how the rich are getting, aggressively raising their own wealth as such. But hunger also has one of the impact here with regard to COVID-19. Okay, why it is happening is because first thing, and then the midday meal scheme is there for us. Okay, this kind of schemes are there across in South African countries also, many African countries. Okay, now we have seen some about 300 million children are unable to access this nutritious food because they are unable to reach schools. And then what will happen ultimately to reach our 2030 goals of sustainable development goals? It is very difficult. Same thing, this report, what the Oxfam has brought out has been talked on by even the World Bank, even the World International Monetary Fund. Okay. World Bank has categorically shown with the data showing that how the poverty has risen by understanding the income levels of middle income groups as well as the lower income groups, especially the impact on middle class population. Okay, we see that they are able to cope up middle class population, but many have seen decrease in their wealth because of COVID-19. Okay, but how will you address this inequality? Again, one more angle is there with regard to climate change, inequality. It is said that the top rich, okay, 1% of the rich population, the emissions are twice as the emissions that the 50% of bottom population in the world. The rich contribute to greater amount of global emissions in the world compared to the bottom 50%. Again, this kind of inequality based on climate crisis is also again coming forward in this report. But how will you address this inequality as such, especially taking into mind of this COVID crisis? How should governments react? How should the world should have been reacted as such? First thing is with regard to the vaccine itself and that monopoly. Take this issue to the WTO and make sure that this vaccine monopoly, production monopoly, manufacturing monopoly which is existing right now has ended, and then everybody has access to the vaccination. Because whole world is going to benefit from it. What will these companies do ultimately after this COVID-19 has ended? Where will those vaccines go anyway? They'll be losing anything anyway. They must have had a lot of. What will happen if 1 year they see losses? They are anyway having several streams of revenue for them. What will COVID-19 will have a thing that they need to focus mostly on profits only. Right? And then next is with regard to the focusing on, the government should focus on progressive taxation. What is progressive taxation? Economics. More. Yes. As the income slabs increase, there should be a proportionate or not proportionate also, there should be an increase in tax rate collection from as the incomes of the population increase. Now it is saying that we need to be more aggressive in it so that the rich or the people who are earning higher incomes and the corporation should be taxed more now, which is much better. It is a time for us. But with regard to India, there is a trouble here. India, we are focusing on Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and then we are trying to encourage the startup culture and want to bring out many companies to come to reach India, right? All these things are there, and then the competition with other countries that we have, that will mainly depend upon the taxation system that is existing in our India. So just before the year of coronavirus in 2019, our government has reduced the tax rates, especially for corporations. You got to make it, what to say, competing enough with the ASEAN nations. But right now, after that is done, within 2 hours raising this taxation again, that is a challenging task. Almost we have brought it almost down to 15%. The new companies which are coming, they are going to pay the corporation tax of 15% only. Otherwise, there are anyway different levels of corporation tax that we pay. Least one is 15%. Okay. So how these things are trying to pan out. Okay, suggestion is one thing, but how it can be implemented in India is what we need to also think of. No, this report is recommending such things. Okay, and then with regard to this progressive taxation, what it says is government can earn some extra revenue, right? And then this revenue they need to focus upon something like creating income safety nets. What do you mean by income safety nets? Income safety nets. That is what? Insurance schemes, penetration of insurance schemes. Okay, protecting that income so that people will be able to save this income somewhere and reap benefit out of it in somewhere in these kinds of unwanted situations like COVID-19. Income safety nets. Okay, like say PM Kisan is there. Okay, now for street vendors also there is some program where we are providing money to the street vendor, some money of 10,000 rupees of loan, I think that is. Okay, and then in AP auto rickshaw walas are getting some safety net of income. Okay, whether that amount is enough is again a debatable thing. Okay, creation of that income safety nets is what the recommendation is, because there is an inequality in wealth that is taking place, right? And then not only on this, we need to focus upon empowering these vulnerable sections of the population. That is the most important recommendation that the report is giving. So greater participation of these weaker sections in the government bodies, making sure that they have the human rights, they know the awareness about these human rights that they need to access as such from the government. That is where they can demand from the government, we need this. That is more powerful than all these things. Why? Because I had already told you, people who are having better position in the society, better access to power, higher status in the society are able to cope up with the COVID crisis better compared to the other sections. How will we resolve this particular aspect? Wealth is not just one angle, no? Status is also another angle, or access to power is another angle. How will you resolve this thing? Democratize, more and more democratize. All these things should be interconnectedly done. That is how we will be able to address this inequality that COVID-19 is exaggerating. What this report particularly says is that if you do not take care of this aspect, our inequality, especially countries in developing countries, our inequality status will be going back to 100 years back. The situation that is there 100 years back, which is completely somewhat hypothetical also, why it will go back to 100 years. But that is, unless we talk in such fashion, people won't think, even the governments won't respond. Right? That is with regard to this report. Okay. Next thing we need to talk of this antimicrobial resistance. Why is it in news? There is a report again with regard to antimicrobial resistance. Okay, global research on antimicrobial research. Okay, global antimicrobial resistance report. So what do you mean by antimicrobial resistance? Not individual. A microorganism not responding to antibody. It's not responding in the sense that it is the resistance that is gained by the microorganisms against any kind of antibody or any kind of drugs or antibiotics that we have. Okay, that is with regard to antimicrobial resistance. When antibiotics become resistant to the, or else take action, that is what bacteria or any virus or anything, it gains resistance, it mutates something, it mutates its genes and make sure that it will have some kind of protective layer over these antibodies that we send through these drugs to not to kill those microorganisms. When they gain resistance, then they mutate and gain resistance, these drugs that we have won't be effective on them. So it becomes more difficult for us to treat any kind of diseases that are occurring due to these bacteria or viruses. Right. Take for example, there is a drug called colistin. Okay, and then it is rampantly used in various sectors. And then this colistin drug is becoming ineffective against the bacteria called Escherichia coli. Have you heard of this bacteria? And it is a very good bacteria for our body. It is not that harmful. But this drug is used to control that bacteria for some other purposes. But it is seen that this drug is becoming ineffective against this bacteria. Okay, and there are several things that are coming up. So what the report is saying that about 5 million people, 5 million have died, okay, in 2019 because of antimicrobial resistance. Among this, in South Asia, some 3 lakh people. Even more, 3.8 I think, at most almost 4 lakh people are dying due to antimicrobial resistance in South Asian countries. And antimicrobial resistance became the leading cause of deaths in the world compared to HIV and malaria. Previously these used to be the leading causes of death. Okay, so this is what it shows these trends show the threat that this antimicrobial resistance is having in the world. Why? Reasons for antimicrobial resistance, tell me what could be the reasons for this? Unprescribed dose. Even if it is unprescribed, what is happening is that people have only partial awareness on these antibiotics. They know that this antibiotic is useful for curing particular kind of disease or something, but they do not know at how much time or how many pills they need to take, all these things. They have only partial awareness. They do not have complete awareness on these antibiotics that are being sold. So mostly not that thing, but reason is out of the counter sales. Okay, that is happening with the antibiotics that we are selling in this pharmaceuticals, right? Is out of the counter sales are one of the reasons, like selling the medicines without any kind of prescription. And then what is called as indiscriminate usage. Like for one fever and cold, we'll have 3-4 tablets ready, we'll have it. Some tablet will work for us. Lot of such things have happened during COVID also. Everybody is ready with Dolo, Cenarest or cetirizine medicines. Ready, headache medicines, body pains, spray, ready. Look, they do not know without reaching any doctor or having access to prescriptions and all, they are just going and buying these things. And then they are selling also. Because they need to improve their sales in their shop. Otherwise, they know that their shop will be closed and they will be losing their jobs also. Out of the counter sales. What else could be the reason? That is one part of the reason, okay, among the major thing. Hospital cleanliness is one of the reasons for raising of sanitization of hospitals. If hospitals are not cleanly maintained, definitely hospital atmosphere you must be seeing, no? There will be several drugs being used there, several kind of equipments are carrying, okay, blood test will be done. So how is that sanitation is being maintained in a hospital, and then the biomedical waste that is the hospital is generating, how they are being treated, how they are handling this biomedical waste is all again one of the reasons for raising of antimicrobial resistance. Okay, biomedical waste management. Okay, biomedical waste management is again connectedly, apart from hospital sanitization and then cleanliness, maintaining cleanliness there. Right now you must be happy that there is something called as Karyakram program, okay, where every government institution should be taking care of cleanliness within its department. In that Karyakram also there are hospital cleanliness drives that are being conducted, which is a very good initiative, but you will see various government hospitals or small primary healthcare centers or hospital cleanliness is one segment. What else are the care with regard to old age homes or cleanliness about them? They will be using, old people might be using several kind of drugs. Some of them might be antibiotics also. And then cleanliness there, not just with regard to cleanliness in hospitals. In general, cleanliness is also lack of cleanliness is also one of the reasons for rise of antimicrobial drugs. How are we maintaining our solid waste management? We are having these waste canals draining. Drainage canals are there. How are we handling the waste over there? If you travel around that corner of that Necklace Road, there will be pungent smell coming from there. Okay, anyway, that smell is okay, but treatment of that particular water is very much required. Otherwise, lot of bacteria. That waste might be carrying several kind of these medical waste. Who knows? So it is better that we need to treat them properly, filter them properly, treat them. So the whole aspect of solid waste management is again very much included. And then in the livestock and poultry sector, you must be knowing that there are several antibodies like growth hormones. Certain antibodies are also used in order to make sure that these animals grow very fast and have a lot of meat with them, and then all these things again in their feed antibiotics are again used. Poultry sector is very huge. Okay, even in our cattle, okay, antibiotics usage is very huge. Indiscriminate usage is there in that particular sector. Okay, and then government has taken certain measures to ban certain things, but still it is still rampant. Okay, poultry sector. In this way, there are several reasons, and also lack of any kind of legal aspect also with regard to this thing. There are certain rules and procedures that we have. There are biomedical waste management rules. They have come up, but there is no overarching act to take care of this antimicrobial resistance as such. at a national level and at a better way. That will have greater enforcement of those standards that are required when it is an act rather than a rule. Okay, so what could be the impact? Okay, overdose also ensures that it gives time for the microbes to gain resistance. Okay, and at the same time, because of gaining resistance, these microbes will have the capability to remain within our body and continue to have the disease. So that the antibiotics that we are using again will not be effective on them, right? So both ways the statements will create that kind of deaths we are seeing with regard to antimicrobial resistance. Okay, I hope I am clear. Okay, you didn't get the link between the cleanliness and antimicrobial resistance. See, it is just that you are giving more time for these microbes to get mutated as such, gain resistance over them when we are not having proper cleanliness as such. Okay, it gives time for microbes to gain this resistance against any particular kind of drug, right? If suppose there is a drug which does not affect any kind of bacteria, okay, that bacteria already has certain resistance, and then drug is useful for treating a disease from another bacteria, but this bacteria can learn from that different bacteria and gain resistance. If cleanliness is not there, these interactions will improve, and then there is a possibility that this bacteria will learn having this resistance. It is quite possible. Okay? Yeah. That is what. So what is the impact? Tell me the impact. What could be the impact of these things? First is rise in deaths. That is one of the aspects. Okay, right to live, right to have a cleanly environment. All these things are our fundamental rights under right to Article 21. Right. So that is one of the impact, political impact, right? And then with regard to healthcare, antibiotics are used for several purposes, not just for treating some kind of disease or something. If there is some kind of surgery that is to be taken, some bacterial antibiotics are used before that surgeries are being taken in order to protect some kind of bacteria. When these bacteria gain resistance, what will happen? The surgeries might get difficult to be carried out. Okay, especially in case of organ transplantation or something, some antibiotics are already used before surgery taking place. Okay, and then the cost of hospitalization that we are talking in the previous topic also will also increase. How? Now we require additional tests in order to target that particular bacteria, whether it is there or not. Longer time the patient has to stay in the hospitals in order to completely recover. All these things will again increase the cost of hospitalization. You are understanding the connecting link, all these things. So economic impact is again there, apart from health impact. Right, these are the kinds of impacts that you will see with regard to the antimicrobial resistance. Right, connectingly, you should be thinking of many other things at larger level anyway. What to say, now we need to prepare new kind of drugs. Preparing those kind of drugs against this resistance is a very difficult task. Research and development, again, the cost of that thing will rise. In order to make a new drug is a very difficult thing, and already we are seeing this. There is a phase between 1960s and 1970s where antibiotic production is very huge once it was discovered of these drugs. Now the antibiotic preparation or manufacturing or new kind of antibiotics manufacturing is lowered as such comparatively. And then the cost of this research is also rising as the bacteria and viruses are gaining resistance against them. Overall, at the larger picture, how it will going to affect the achievement of our sustainable development goals. These are the impacts that you will see. But what is the action that the government has taken till now? There is an action plan that the government has decided, okay, national action plan, very recent one, national action plan against antimicrobial resistance. This action plan is 2017 to 2021. Okay, we have this one. And then the government has brought in this schedule H1, okay, H1 drug status. All the prescriptions, they will be having a marker, red marker having written schedule H1. All these drugs, okay, under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act, there is a Drugs and Cosmetics Act. In that, there is a schedule called Schedule H1. All the drugs that are listed there need to be sold only after the prescription, and most of these drugs are antibiotics. But still you will see them there. Even after these markings that are there, still we will see the out-of-the-counter sales that are happening. And then even the FSSAI, in order to ensure that the food that is produced from fisheries, poultries and all, there are several antibiotics that are being used, and they are discouraging their usage, making sure that they are raising awareness among them and discouraging usage of antibiotics, especially in fisheries and poultry. They are standardizing them so that people will have knowledge of them, that these poultry are bred by giving antibiotics, so that information is being given. This sector is little unorganized as a fishery sector, or this poultry sector is unorganized. FSSAI has does not have that kind of reach. But once this sector gets organized, better way of this poultry breeding will take place. Okay, this sector is unorganized as such right now. Agriculture sector itself is an unorganized sector. We need to move more towards organized fashion. This coconut industry is again unorganized sector. You will see the vendors on streets and all. But once the organized sector is there will be certain kind of packaging, new kind of products in small bottles of coconut. You are already seeing, but they are highly costly. We need to reduce the cost of this sector. As the organized manufacturing, organized based retailing takes place in this agriculture sector, and definitely you will see the results. Same thing should happen here. Now some organized fashion of meat is there, Lucius is there. Okay, that is, now we are moving towards such kind of organized fashion of retailing in the poultry sector and meat sector and the egg sector. We are seeing the packaging of eggs in our Moore shops or Spencer shops or something. These are coming, but these are little costly as such. That is why people are not that encouraged to buy these eggs or somewhere from these shops. So that difficulty we should handle somehow. And then apart from this, what we should do is that we need to adopt this concept called as One Health concept. Have you heard of this? What is One Health concept? Especially this concept has been given precedence or given importance, especially after the rise of zoonotic diseases that we are seeing. What is zoonotic diseases? Yes, the diseases that are coming from animals to the humans, which are existing in forest, like Zika virus, Ebola, now probably corona. We do not have any information with regard to corona. That is another problem with corona. The origin of corona is still mystery for us. So One Health concept in the sense that humans, environment and animals should always be seen together. Their concept of health with regard to this human health should be interlinked with the health of the environment as well as the health of the animals that we are interacting. That is what this One Health concept says. Once this is done, it is better way that many things, not only just antimicrobial resistance problem with regard to this, several aspects with regard to the new kind of diseases that we are facing right now will be solved when we adopt this approach called One Health approach, One Health concept. Okay, other than that, definitely the enforcement of biomedical waste management rules and then cleanliness and sanitation, raising awareness about these things, all these things are additional things that we need to do. Okay, that is with regard to the antimicrobial resistance in this shorter way. But there can be a question in a way that there can be essay also here. You should be a little careful there. Okay. So greater aspect, you need to prepare your own notes in covering all the angles in different dimensions. Right. So next topic, there is one article in Hindu, democratize and empower city governments. It talks about the challenges that the municipalities are facing right now. So before that, some prelims concept, which act, Constitutional Amendment Act has brought in these municipalities? 74th, in which year? 1993. Okay. Okay, it probably this question might not be asked in your UPSC prelims as such, but many government exams it is quite relevant, this amendment. Which part of the constitution has been added due to the from this amendment? 13A? No. Part 9A. What does part 9 says? Covers which area part 9 covers? Part 9 covers panchayats. Part 9A covers municipalities. Part 9B covers cooperative societies. Very good. All these things are cooperative societies were added through which amendment? 97th Constitutional Amendment Act. It not only added part 9B, but it added it amended article 19 of the constitution also. Okay, it added a new article, article 43A, I guess. Okay, go back and see, in directive principles of state policy. Okay, to promote the voluntary democratic organization of cooperative societies, what the directive principles of state policy are added. Okay. Okay, and then the formation of cooperative societies is a fundamental right under Article 19. Formation of associations, you must have heard. Within that association, formation of cooperative societies, the cooperative word was added there in that particular thing, Article 19. But anyway, coming to this urban local bodies or municipalities. So this article talks about several what is this challenges, especially with regard to the what happened with regard to COVID-19 is more and more responsibility in taking care of the public at the local level was taken by municipalities itself, but they lacked enough resources to take care of. They are ultimately dependent on the state government grants and the central government grants to take care, to address this COVID-19 as such situation as such. But they are better equipped, they are having better reach to address the COVID-19 scenario. So this scenario has brought out the discussion again with regard to the governance and the aspect of these municipalities. So what are the challenges that you are seeing of? First thing is limited autonomy. Okay, these urban local bodies or even panchayat, it is valid point for panchayats also. They are ultimately more and more looked at as some kind of branch within the state government itself. They are not being seen as a separate entity of governance. This is a third tier entity. They are not given enough powers in handling any situation. For example, with regard to COVID-19, what happened is that several leaders from national level and state level have come together and tried to discuss and decide upon how we will handle this COVID-19 and all. But none of the leaders from municipalities were taken or panchayats were taken there in the discussion. They are not included itself. lack of inclusion of these people, of these leaders, is also something which she is shown, seeing that these are just, they are running these municipalities just for a namesake. And then there are several cities itself, there are no municipal elections that are taken place. From in Chennai, in cities like Vizag, there are no municipal elections. As far as I remember, in city Vizag, the municipal elections, the ward elections taken place in the year 2007. Till now, there is no one election conducted. It's been more than 14 years now. If that is the case, what is the reason for having this? They are having constitutional backing, and who will question them now? So ultimately, they are having less autonomy, and then they are completely dependent on state governments. And then the poor finances that they have is another problem. What is being seen is that there is a rise in expenditure that these municipalities or local bodies are having, at almost 70% rise during this COVID times. Okay, but there is a significant reduction in the revenues collection from these local bodies. And it is seen that several local bodies are not taxing property tax. It is one of the important tax that is available for the local bodies not to gain revenues. But many of them are not looking at taxing this property and to not raise resources for themselves. And then the GST has brought in another problem for them. You must have seen several indirect taxes have been subsumed into GST. One of that indirect tax is octroi. What is octroi? What is octroi? Tax employed when any kind of goods enter into the city. This was removed, and this used to be the case. This tax used to provide 55% of the revenue for the local bodies. Now this was replaced by granting system from states and central government, and this grant provides only 10% of the expenditure. Complete mismatch here. These are the challenges, and then structural challenges are all again anyway there everywhere. Like they are lacking proper human resource as such. Okay. Anyway, in AP we are seeing gram volunteer or something like that. Okay, some kind of this concept is coming there, but still we are not talking of ward volunteers or city volunteers something. So whether the idea of having such kind of resources depends upon the state government, because so one more aspect I forgot to tell you with regard to this 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. It has added one more schedule called Schedule 12, right? Again, how many items are listed in the Schedule 12? 18. Okay, 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act added Schedule 11. How many items are there? 23 is good, correct. Okay, do not remember. Okay, and then structural issues like the municipal offices and all these things are not having properly digitalized as such. There are no computers itself available. Even after manning them, how will they work? They need to have all this data on the people, who has to be taxed how much, all these things. They should maintain all these things. These are all standards and structures that are to be built by the local level, which are not seen. These are some of the structural issues, and then these are the issues in overall that the article is discussing about. But what is the article is also about suggesting about certain things, how we'll address these things. It is trying to say that it is focusing on this Kerala model and Sweden model, okay. In Kerala, what happened is that the state budget itself, certain percentage is always allocated for the local bodies. 40% of state budgets is always allocated for the local bodies. That has been fixed. Some kind of convention has been developed there. Conventions have been developed there, which is very good idea. So that will definitely give the financial strength these local bodies are needing as such. And then Sweden, there is something called as one program. The local bodies 3-tier system is there, not just in our country. Okay, Germany has, China has, Brazil has this local 3-tier system. Even Sweden has. Sweden, what they have done in Sweden is that certain income tax that is the government is collecting, 10% of this income tax is being spent for the local governments, and that is the same thing is also recommended for our country. Income tax collection, ultimately who is collecting the income tax? It is central government. Based on this collection only, with regard to based on the finance commission recommendation, it will divide these taxes. Okay, so saying that 10% of the income tax collection from this local area should be given back to this local area, these local bodies only, which is a very good idea. They will be so standardizing it, that will bring out something called as some kind of standardization, that the 40%, okay, we are definitely going to have this much of amount. This amount of revenue is assured for us. We can work upon them and improve our governance or infrastructure, all these things at the local level. This is a very good thing, no? So these are some of the recommended ideas that are coming up, okay, with regard to this particular article. But anyway, very quickly we'll go through other aspects, okay. These are, I've added them in the slides, you can ask them, okay, later. With regard to this report, Global Cyber Security Report, World Economic Forum Summit has taken place. Virtually, the Prime Minister also spoken many things. Within that summit only, there are 2 reports that have come out recently. Okay, Global Risk Report and then Global Cyber Security Outlook. Okay, remember, they are asking reports also in prelims point of view. Okay, so what is saying that there is an acceleration of the IT sector development, but at the same time, we are seeing the rise of cyber security related cases, especially with regard to ransomware. There is a rise in 151% rise in these ransomware attacks in the world, not especially in a particular country, right? So almost it is costing about 3.6 million, about 27 crores every year for some companies. This is a huge loss, right? No, you are seeing due to pandemic only more and more digital participation of these people are coming. More and more people are trying to access the goods or services majorly through the platform of digital platforms only. Internet participation of people has increased tremendously with regard to after this COVID-19 only especially. Now, not only that has taken place, but we are also seeing the rise in the cyber security related threats in the world, okay, which is a concern for us. And then this global risk report. This report covers several areas of risk in various sectors like environment, economy, okay, geopolitical, societal and technological. There are 5 areas, okay, 5 categories. In these 5 categories, the risks associated across the world, this report is trying to cover up. Okay, again this report is brought out by the World Economic Forum, remember, okay. And then there are several other reports like gender gap report, is again brought out by World Economic. So you guys need to make a note, okay. Reports made out of different organizations, make a notes and then have the list ready with you. Just before exam you go through and then World Bank, IMF, okay, UNDP reports and then World Economic Forum, right? And then several environmental related reports are coming and International Energy Agency is there and then OECD is there. These organizations are bringing some of the reports that you need to take care of. Okay. So what does this report says? It says mostly the climate action failure is the major risk. Okay, the countries with their commitments towards the climate change are not enough. That is what the report is saying. Even though there is a huge awareness drive or huge things that are taking place, like we are, some countries have aimed to become net zero carbon, okay, by 2050, and it says that on paper it is good, they are aiming, but their commitments show that it is not enough to reach that carbon, net zero carbon by 2050. Okay, that is what this report majorly is pointing about, right? And then we have this Samarth scheme. What is this? Is particularly because trying to focus upon the stubble burning that is taking place in Punjab and Haryana, these areas. Okay, there is some kind of agricultural waste that the country is generating. Instead of considering this as a waste and considering it as a resource, this scheme has been designed in that fashion to make sure that this agricultural waste is seen as a resource. Okay, Samarth scheme. Okay, under Ministry of Power. Okay, what is happened is that the agricultural waste is combined with coal and burnt in the thermal plants in order to produce heat and electricity thereby. And then the aspect of co-firing, that is what is there, okay, co-firing. Right, and then it is also focusing on research and development work in designing boilers and all these things. Okay, so not only just things, so mainly air pollution from stubble burning, in order to reduce that, in order to address that kind of problem that we are facing every year. The Delhi pollution raising, one of the reason is that, no? So in order to address that thing only, this scheme has been planned, but anyway other details you can go through. Right? So when you are writing answer also with regard to what is the government steps is taking with regard to addressing air pollution or something, you can include these kind of schemes. Okay, or else how the agricultural waste management is taking place, again you can include. Specifically questions related to stubble burning have also come up in mains. Okay, and then the Subhash Chandra Bose, okay, he recently celebrated his birthday, and his birthday is also called as, okay, Parakram Divas. So basically he was born in the Bengal province and all, some basic things we will need to learn. In education in early life, he is a Indian civil servant. Who is the first Indian civil servant? Satyendra Bose. Go back and see. Okay, these are some tricky questions. You'll always, remembering names in history is one of the difficult tasks for you. Right. So, who is his political guru? Subhash Chandra Bose political guru, do you know? Chittaranjan Das. Okay, he was inspired by Vivekananda, almost. Anyways, he is from Bengal, Vivekananda is from Bengal, definitely he must have been inspired. We must remember in that fashion. And then he has his own newspaper called Swaraj. Before having Swaraj, he worked in a newspaper called Forward, okay. I think it is there, yeah, here. Okay, later he joined Indian National Congress. What is his contribution in Indian National Congress? First thing, he is a leftist and socialist. Remember that first thing, and in that angle you can think how he will be thinking. He is somewhat radical in that sense compared to Mahatma Gandhi. So first thing is that his idea, his first prominence will come when Motilal Nehru will bring out this report, Nehru report, 1928. So in that report he did not like the idea of giving dominion status to India along with Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, in opposed to that, he and Jawaharlal Nehru have started a body called India Independence League. Okay, later he participated in civil disobedience movement, but there he did not like the idea of stopping the civil disobedience movement. He criticized the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Right, and then in Indian National Congress, he was elected as a president in Haripur session of Congress in 1938. Okay, with huge majority, huge. And then again in 1939, he was elected in Tripuri session of. Remember these sessions? They are again coming in history. Tripuri session. Against him in Tripuri session only, the Gandhiji has placed whom? Who is that person that Gandhiji has placed against Subhash Chandra Bose? Pattabhi Sitaramaya. Okay. Right. But anyway, due to the ideological differences and suggestion from certain colleagues, Subhash Chandra Bose has resigned from presidentship in that particular year. Thereafter, he lost. Gradually, he started losing connection with Congress. Okay. Thereby, he started something called as Forward Bloc. He called it as an organization part of Congress only, but it was too radical and leftist also. Later, he was thrown out of Congress. So what happened after that? He has changed his name. Okay, looked at and went to Germany. He said that he also met Hitler, and then from there, with the help of Germany, he reached Japan, and from Japan, with the advice of the Mohan Singh, he has joined the Indian National Army. So who started Indian National Army? INA. Question was already in prelims. It was started by Captain Mohan Singh. Remember, Indian National Army was started by Captain Mohan Singh. It was in his hands in 1.5 years or so after its formation in 1942 or something, and then the Subhash Chandra Bose has come into the picture. Thereby, he started several things like having this what is called as Azad Hind government, some kind of parallel government he has set up there. Okay, from there he started radio communication with India. Okay, there itself, he during the Quit India movement, he named Gandhiji as the father of our nation. He called Gandhiji as father of our nation, and he said that Indian National Army is fighting from outside for India's freedom during the Quit India movement. And then he also had this women regiment called Lakshmi Regiment, Rani Lakshmi Regiment, yes. Right, all these things are facts that you need to remember, always, okay, never forget with regard to. And then later, in 1945, he died unexpectedly, and there are several conspiracies against his death. We do not know the cause of his death, and even we do not know whether he died or he is still alive or something like that. His family members do not agree even now that he has passed away. Okay, but anyway, we should see this is what the contribution and the life of Subhash Chandra Bose has been. Okay, here we'll end the session, right? Thank you.